Eric. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good time on catch up. I would like to take a moment to recognize our T&DI board. So Eric Pfeiffer is a vice chair who is a principal at Biggs Cardoza Associates. Charlotte Wu, she might not be here right now. She's secretary, transportation engineer at AECOM. Then Stephen Anderson, our treasurer, who is here, project manager at David Evans Associates. Juliet Su, at-large board member, director at TCA. Alice Algord, YMF Liaison, payment engineer, GMA Geotechnical. And Akshay Banesh, at-large board member, senior bridge engineer at HDR. I believe Kelsey Anderson is here, she's a past chair. She's corridor manager at TCA. Okay, I want to thank all the T&D board members because we were able to put together, these great programs only by everybody's dedication. So thanks you all for hard work. And also I want to take the moment to thank branch annual sponsors. Many of you are in attendance today. With your support, the ASCE branch is able to offer programs and outreach opportunities that truly benefits our members. Then finally, we would like to extend our thanks to today's event sponsors. T&DI is big on scholarships. So because of your contributions, we were able to give scholarships for each year for several students in the field of transportation. Eric Pfeiffer, our vice chair, will take this moment to introduce our event sponsors.
Yep, as Alahesh mentioned, thank you guys so much for everybody for attending and helping us generate revenue that we use to fund scholarships for students that are rising in the Transportation and Development Institute. But a special thanks to our event sponsors today, Advanced Drainage Systems and Pacific Geosource. And we'd like to give them about 2 minutes each to introduce their firms and introduce themselves to the group. So I'll ask if you could unmute, spend about 2 minutes, and then we'll get going with the main presentation. So let's start in alphabetical order with Travis with ADS. If you want to say a few words, Travis.
Yes, thank you, Eric. I didn't realize we had an advantage of our company name starting with an A, I guess. It's nice to go first, so thank you, Eric. So my name is Travis Antonison. I'm an engineered products manager with Advanced Drainage Systems. I'd like to first thank our ASCE for putting this together. It's nice to come to these things and keep a pulse on what's changing in the industry and things like that. I very much enjoyed the technical tour of the OC streetcar a couple of weeks ago. I live right in Santa Ana, so it's nice that I will actually be able to enjoy that project. So that was a cool tour to have. So a little bit about our company. We manufacture stormwater products. So anything from capture, conveyance, storage, treatment, we have a product to fit that need in one form of another. Secondly, we're also the largest plastic pipe recycler in the nation. We remove 500 million pounds of plastic from landfills each year. So that's sustainability is something that is important to us. And then lastly, we'd like to give a quick little thank you or a moment of appreciation for Orange County Public Works for allowing the use of ADS HP Storm in the local drainage manual. Opening up that competition while meeting a performance-based specification, I think is going to be useful to save money for the county, which can be allocated to, let's say the other fun projects like parks and things like that would benefit the community. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you, Travis, and thanks to ADS for the sponsorship today. Next is Alex with Pacific Geosource. If you want to say a few words, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys again for giving us this little spiel here. My name is Alex Katrotsios. I'm with Pacific Geosource, and I'm a project manager with them. And what we do is we work with public agencies, contractors, you name it, and providing different reinforcement products for the structural section for asphalt and concrete. We have different products that are introduced into asphalt to give it tensile strength, additional durability, ease of construction. We've got recycled plastic products for asphalt, geogrids for subgrade reinforcement, and even all the way up to slurry seals for maintenance applications. So working with different counties, different cities, introducing this, what it does, we can provide an extended life to these pavements. reduce the life cycle costs, and also if we're looking at it to beef up a section, we can add this and not have to add additional thickness to the section as well. So if we're looking to beef it up and have limits, there's several applications to it. So that's what we do.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. And thanks to Pacific Geosource for sponsoring today. So again, just want to say thanks to our sponsors. These would not be possible without you and without everybody attending. So thank you very much. And also it would not be possible to put on these events without great speakers like Nardi. So I will turn it over to Alahesh to introduce her and we will get going.
Well said, Eric. So today I have the honor of introducing Nardi Khan, Deputy Director of Infrastructure Programs of Orange County Public Works. After joining OCPW in 2005, Ms. Khan leads a team focused on administrating the capital improvement program with such function as road and flood control projects, programming, and the Santana River project. She managed the recently approved 7-year $1.2 billion capital improvement program that include projects such as road and bridge, flood control, and bikeways through the 5 districts within Orange County. Ms. Khan received a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from UCLA. She's a registered civil engineer in California and certified project management professional with the Project Management Institute. During this virtual event, Ms. Khan will provide an update to the 7-year capital improvement program, including upcoming projects. Nardi, on behalf of T&DI and all our members, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to hear from you today. I will now turn the mic to you.
Okay, thank you, Alahesh, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to see a lot of familiar faces, familiar names, and appreciate the support. And thank you to ASCE for inviting me. I know ASCE has always been a great contributor to the engineering field and providing a lot of technical sessions and keeping us all in the loop and communicating. So thank you very much to ASCE as well. So I'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. I think I have about half an hour. I'll be watching my time here and let me get this going.
And just a quick note, Nardi, for everybody viewing, because of the screen difference size, we found that if you go to view in the top right and click on standard instead of the side by side, you should be able to see a bit better.
Okay, and thank you for that, Eric. If anybody has other trouble viewing the screen, go ahead and drop something in the chat and we'll see if we can help you out. But again, thank you very much. I'm here to talk about our capital improvement program. Orange County develops a 7-year plan, and we do update that annually. It goes to the board around May. So we have a fresh CIP that the board approved just a couple months ago. The background photo here is our East Garden Grove Wintersburg channel. I did see Phil Jones joining us there. I know he worked on this when he was in the county. I also see Sam Lee, some former county staff, so thank you for joining and supporting the county. So this view here is looking upstream, so you can see the channel widening and you can see the double row of sheet pile that we've installed here. Of course, we have a diversion system in here. And this particular channel is of concern to us because we do have a levee condition. So we have homes that are at a lower elevation, whereas if the levee were to fail, there would be flooding. So just to give you a flavor of some of the projects that we work on, many of you are familiar, but we do have to go in and prioritize these and put them in a program so that they can be executed. So with that, today I'm going to talk about our agency, how we're organized, just briefly. I'll talk about the program and I'll highlight some upcoming projects. I know there's always interest in our consultant community on what's coming up next. So Orange County Public Works, we have a director and 2 assistants, and then we have 10 service areas. Our administrative services, who takes care of our budget, our finance matters, development services, as well as our planning side, working with developers, construction. They help us build our projects. Environmental resources, helping out with the water quality compliance and PDS permit requirements. Also, the Ag Commissioner falls under this umbrella. We have facilities design and construction management. They'll handle what we call the vertical side of the house. I'm over here in infrastructure programs on the left, and we handle the horizontal work. We also have operations and maintenance, fleet services, survey. The survey, obviously, kind of self-explanatory what they do. And then we also have our vertical facilities maintenance and our central utility facilities. So within the horizontal realm of the world, we maintain 380 miles of flood control channel, 350 road miles. We are adding road miles to our inventory as new developments get built, particularly in the ranch in South County. Excuse me. We have 16 dams and 8 water pump stations. Sorry about that. I think I need a little sip of water, excuse me. Okay, so for the capital improvement program, why do we have it? Our program is financially constrained. We want to make sure that all of our teams know where we're going, what we're going to be working on in a given year. We're going to look at our resources, both staffing and also financial. It helps us identify where we can leverage grant funds. And we also want to be very transparent to the board on projects that we're working on, and the public in general. We are caretakers of public funds, so we want to make sure that they know what we're working on. Over the last 3 years, we've also been collaborating with our community resources team, and we do manage some of their projects. And we've helped them develop OCCR, OC Community Resources, which is Parks and Libraries, CIP. So you'll look at our plan online and you'll see Parks and Libraries attached to that. Our goal next year is to add John Wayne Airport to that mix. Some of you may know, but Public Works will be managing a lot of the work for the John Wayne Airport projects. We're doing a series of assessments, and there are some RFPs out there for services. I don't have all of the detail on that, but if any of you are interested, please let me know and I'll put you in contact with the right folks. And then again, our goal would be to have the CIP for John Wayne next year. So that's in the works also. So if you're curious to look at the program as a whole, I'm going to be highlighting again upcoming projects. But if you'd like to look at the program as a whole, you could go to our website. I have a link here, and I'll be happy to drop it in the chat here as well. But within that, we have a couple of ways you could look at the program. One is a detailed project list. So as you can see, this is like one of many spreadsheet pages. And you can see the different phases of the project. You'll see a brief description. You'll notice whether we think that'll be a traditional delivery method or if it would be like a CMAR or a design build. And you can also see what year we would be in design and what year we would be in construction. So it's a really good look ahead, and it has a lot of detail on estimated project costs. And again, just a lot of good information there. If you're looking for the abbreviated version or a quick look, our interactive maps are really helpful. I know a lot of members of the public use this. So you can either click on the road, bridge, flood, and bikeway projects. You could look at library projects, or you could just focus on what is active now. Our total combined CIP improvement program continues to grow. This year, our total was $1.2 billion. Again, that's over 7 years. And we have 5 supervisorial districts, as you all may know. I just wanted you to get a really quick glance at the distribution of the districts. District 2 in the middle is the smallest of the 5, and then the other 5 kind of surround it. District 3 very large with a lot of the national forest area, but we also have quite a bit of road miles in this area. So I have a couple of pie charts here to show you the distribution of the CIP. I just wanted to stress that we don't use the districts to distribute the funds. Rather, we prioritize, and then once we're done, we do go back and look at how the distribution for the districts was completed. District 2 being the smallest, gets the smallest amount of funding, but that could vary in a given year if we have a high cost capital project within a specific district. At a glance by program, again, my team manages flood, road, bikeways. You can take a look and see the road and the flood capital improvement programs are about 30 to 35% of the total cost, the total allocated program. Then we also have bikeways coming in at about 10%. And we also have some flood and road maintenance improvement projects in that realm, and a small allocation to road externally funded projects where we may have a collaborative project with an outside party. Again, just bringing prioritization up, we look at each category of project through a unique lens, and these are high level, the things that we look at. If you review the CIP under each category, you could take a look at what each category uses for its prioritization. But in general terms, we look at where we have the funds available, of course, where we may be able to get grants. With the IIJA, we're definitely taking a close look at our bridge projects. We know there's dedicated bridge money coming in. We've also been looking at some of the environmental type projects, so just kind of keeping an eye open for what's coming down the pipeline as far as grants. We have a mitigation and cooperative projects. If a city comes in and there's work that they want to do and they need a portion of that funding for the county and they have funds, we certainly want to keep those projects going as well and as much as we can. We do have a series also of studies, reports, inspections, and wherever those projects identify that there's a need for work to be done, or in the case of roads, if there's a deficiency on the MPH classification or something we need to do, those will bump up as well. And I think the one on the top here really sums up, we do look overall, our main concern is the risk to the public and what that is, and those projects will advance. Last year, for example, we discovered some deficiencies on our sheet piles at the Huntington Beach and Talbot channel. We had to bump that project up because if it was not done, those homeowners would potentially go back into a flood zone and would have to pay flood insurance. And of course, there's the risk that the sheet piles could fail. So that was like a non-starter for us. It's work we had to do. As you all know, we are continuing to receive Senate Bill 1 revenues. Our goal is to hit a PCI of 85 in the next 5 years. Overall, the county does maintain a very robust program of pavement maintenance and will rotate the roads and the unincorporated area to make sure that they are all getting pavement treatments at the right time. We're investing about $98.5 million into pavement maintenance. We're also looking at safety and active transportation. And over the last few programs, we've been allocating money to ADA upgrades. We always have an amount dedicated to ADA upgrades, and then every year we will identify a specific area for those upgrades. Similar to that, we do sidewalk gap closures in areas where maybe there's a gap, but there's a school or there's a need for those facilities. So we're looking to close those gaps in an incorporated area. Traffic signal upgrades, also kind of ongoing safety work that we're doing. And we continue to enhance our traffic management center. by expanding our fiber optic lines in those areas. Mostly we have it in South County. It's difficult to manage that area from Santa Ana, so having that TMC gives us that remote ability to control signals in that area. We also have local drainage improvements, and we're looking at guardrails. We also are planning to apply for a local safe streets grant that came out this year from IIJA. So hopefully we can have a more comprehensive program to identify if there are any areas where we need to make safety adjustments for our roadways and improve the condition of those roads in that regard. So hopefully that'll come through, and then we'll need some help getting that program done. Okay, so on the road and bridge side, projects that we have again in the current fiscal year, we have our Barrett Lane drainage and sidewalk improvements. We have again ADA upgrades. We're finishing up Anaheim Island. So we started that a couple of years ago, and then we had to come back and continue it. So again, that's curb ramp work. We have the Antonio Parkway and Crown Valley intersection improvements. So that's the intersection improvements for traffic demand in the South County area. Gilbert Street is also part of a second phase, so to speak. We are in design on that one, and it's the continuation of the project that we completed in 2016. But we are going to be installing a traffic signal this time for some of the left turn movement that we have in that area that doesn't have the advantage of a signal, and again at the railroad crossing, it poses a safety hazard. So it's one we're working on. We also have traffic signal upgrades at Esperanza and Fairland as part of our annual program, and that's through OCTA. It's a cooperative project as well. And the Traffic Management Center, like I pointed out earlier, we're just continuing to expand our fiber optic capabilities. So projects I have on this screen, and as we go forward, you'll see this. Anything in yellow would be something where we have an opportunity to engage a consultant or where we don't have somebody assigned to that work. So I wanted to offer that because I know folks have an interest again in seeing upcoming work. But just starting with some of the projects that we are doing and where we already have someone, we have the 5 Canyon bridge replacements. You've got 2 of them here. Total, we have 3 in Silverado Canyon, 1 in Majeska, and 1 in Tribuco. These are all funded by the Federal Highway Bridge Program. So for these, we always do an RFP in order to be able to meet all of those federal requirements. That we can't typically use our on-call agreements for something like that. And ones that we do have coming up, I'll expand a little bit more on the next slide. Our Coast Highway, Bikeway, and Pedestrian Bridge at Capistrano Beach. We have slated for 23-24, but we're kind of in a hanging pattern on this one. There's a lot of erosion on the beach in this area, and we're kind of trying to see what the Coastal Commission will allow the state beach to do in that area to determine what the need is for this bridge to continue to be present, because it really does connect to a state bridge, so to a state beach, excuse me. So depending on what happens to the beach, the bridge will follow accordingly. Santa Clara Avenue, we also have some drainage and sidewalk improvements in that area. And these are the upcoming projects, just to highlight these separately. Our Tribuco Canyon Bridge replacement. This is the bridge that gets flooded regularly when there's a storm event. We get debris, we've lost rail. It's really a troublesome area for us. So we are looking to replace that bridge. Kind of adjacent to that area, we have Tribuco Creek Road. And that's, as you can see here, out in open nature area. It's an area we really can't pave due to the resources that are in the vicinity. So we are looking at some alternative solutions that will be consistent with the surrounding environment, but that will reduce some of the dust that is coming out of the facility right now. Our Crawford Canyon sidewalk, we're also looking at extending that. As you can see, you got a sidewalk that pretty much abruptly ends here as you get to the light here. So we're looking at extending that. And we have our Majeska Canyon Road Bridge project. So just real quick on the projects that I showed before, we are going to be having proposals for that work. Back to this one here. Sorry for going back and forth there for a second. Majeska Grade Road, we're in design. We're slated for construction. We're probably going to push that one out to fiscal year 24-25, as we have here. And let me make sure I get all my notes here on these projects. We have the Panorama Heights drainage and road improvements. Let me come to the upcoming projects, and I'm happy to answer questions from some of the others that we're working on as well. But I just don't want to go over my time, so sorry, I'm kind of skimming through some of these. For the upcoming projects, we have a Panorama Heights. As you can see here, we have some pretty narrow streets, not a lot of drainage features. We do have flooding in some of the homes. It's pretty hilly. Right of way is very constrained, so this is going to be a challenge. But we do want to assess the area as a whole and see what we could do to help improve the community as far as drainage. Santiago Creek Island improvements. We are constructing a sidewalk here for ADA accessibility, and we're also upgrading traffic signal system at the intersection of Villa Park and Hughes. And last but not least, the Antonio Parkway Gateway improvement is going to be a raised median along Antonio Parkway. And the city has some planned improvements in here. We were going to be working with them, but it looks like now we're doing our work separate. Okay, more road and bridge projects, again, going out into the future a little bit more. 25, 26, our Brea Boulevard project is a little bit delayed. It's a very large project. With COVID, we went and see where we could perhaps pause. So Brea is one of those projects that needs to be done, but may not be one that has to happen right away. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern on that one. Again, a high cost project. We are continuing to work on the environmental documentation. It's the construction that gets pushed out a little bit. Santiago Canyon Road corridor improvements. We have installation of passing lanes for traffic flow to improve vehicle safety, of course. El Toro Road. Let me bring this one up. You can see a little better here. El Toro Road is widening of El Toro Road, bringing it to its designated master plan of arterial highways designation. And the Newport Avenue roadway improvements, which is in planning, and construction is expected in fiscal year 28 to 29. So that one's still out in the future. And we would be doing raised median and pavement rehabilitation. A lot of work happening. So on the flood side, as you can see, East Garden Grove, Wintersburg. I know I had that picture starting up at the front. I think it's one we definitely want to highlight because of its significance in the community. Like I said, it's levied condition. We have different phases of the project. We do have this project authorized by the federal government, but there's no federal funding that has been allocated to it yet. So first up is the bridges project, Warner, Upstream, Springdale, and Edwards. So we just are almost finishing up the sheet pile work on that one. And then next will be the bridge projects. So after the bridge projects, these are the three projects where we still have not designated a consultant to get started on these. We have the Warner Avenue Bridge downstream of that area. We have our tide gates and the Ocean View Channel section. So again, more flood projects coming in that regard. Just a note on those real quick. A lot of that work is sheet pile, widening the project. Each reach will have to be a little differently. Of course, the bridges are going to be slightly different as well, but just trying to get as much capacity and resiliency as we can out of that facility. We have our Carbon Creek channel, San Juan Creek. I'll talk about Santa Ana del High separately. For Carbon Creek, we are reconstructing a trap earth and riprap channel, and we want to allow it to convey a 100-year storm. San Juan Creek phase 1 is still in planning. We have a facility study going on for that channel. We're slated to go into construction fiscal year 28-29, and that will be bridge replacement, channel improvement, and again, getting to the 100-year storm conveyance. So I'll pull Santa Ana del High out separately, just a view of that channel. This one here is in preliminary design. We're expecting to go in construction fiscal year 23-24, and of course, we're going to target the 100-year flow capacity and decreasing scour across the channel and to the upper Newport Bay. We're going to create some habitat. This project, in addition to a flood capacity project, also serves as mitigation for prior reaches of the Santa Ana del High upstream. On the Bikeway side, so as you can see, OC Loop comes up repeatedly. Our goal is still to complete the OC Loop. OCTA has come up with a new plan called OC Loops with an S, and that in addition to creating the 66-mile loop through the county, creates some traverse connections for the loop. So imagine kind of like a ladder and putting those side connections for that. But again, we're still working on the loop. The loops is in planning. So projects that we have in this area, we have our Santa Ana Gardens Bikeway extension. This one's a low bid project. We just had this one awarded at our last board meeting. So this one's moving forward. It's continued bikeway extension utilizing our flood control channels, and it is something that where possible we do. We'll work with the city. They'll take on maintenance of the facility, and we can help out with either some of the improvements or in a cooperative project, doing so that the public can enjoy the facilities for recreation. We have our OC Loop segment D. That one's along Carbon Canyon Channel. And our design plans are almost complete, and we're still working on some easements, some right-of-way for that, but that one is getting awfully close as well. Peters Canyon Bikeway Extension, we're working with our parks team. This is along Jamboree in the city of Tustin and Orange, and it's a Class 1 bikeway and a sidewalk along the west side of Jamboree Road, and it's part of the Mountains to Sea trail. We're at about 65% design, and we do have some ECIP funds for this one. Our Santa Ana River Parkway extension, this is all the way up on the county border with Riverside. There's work happening on the Riverside and work happening in the Orange County side. This one here would close the 28-mile DG Trail and Class 1 bikeway along the Santa Ana River, connecting, of course, to Riverside and San Bernardino counties. There's some OC Parks funding and some Prop 84 grant funding, and we're continuing to look for funds for the construction of that one. It's not funded into construction, unfortunately. Our OC Loop Segment O in Coyote Creek, so we have OPQ, and you can kind of bundle those together. We've been looking at the design, we've been looking at the environmental as one. That we do plan to build them separately, just to kind of keep some of the costs in those specific phases. We're in preliminary design. Construction is slated for next fiscal year for the first phase, 23-24. And it's a bikeway closure for 1.14 miles connecting other already established bikeways in the Buena Park area. In addition to our CIP, we also have maintenance improvement program dollars that are included in the plan. We have, these are pretty large maintenance projects. As you can see, we have like $97 million in there. Our facilities are aging, and we are needing to divert some dollars to the upkeep of facilities. We're also doing mitigation for flood projects that ends up being an ongoing task, so we have to continue to allocate funds for that. On the road side, pavement maintenance, I know we touched on that a little bit, bridge, road maintenance, and kind of parallel to the flood mitigation, we also have mitigation on the road projects. So in summary, I know I went through a lot of different projects. My apologies if I'm going too fast. Again, I'm happy to answer questions, but what is the purpose of our program? It's to be able to prioritize our projects. It helps us get organized in what we're going to be doing. It helps us plan for funds that may be needed, either funds that we have or grant applications that we need to submit. And then it also helps us plan for our resources and be able to do the work with the staffing we have, with the consultant contracts that we have that are available. So just keeping everything moving. And many years past, you know, we started a project, we may not be able to finish it. It's a wasted effort. We've been able to consolidate a lot of what we do this way, and the teams are really focused on the project that's coming up this year. So it's been a really good tool to keep the teams productive and keep the county accountable for the work it's doing. As far as the process, it's almost year-round, I would say. We start looking in September. So even though we just had our board approval of the CIP, we're already starting to prepare for the September timeframe when we're going to consider projects for the next fiscal year. Most of the capital projects on the horizontal side are multi-year. So planning is really, really critical for us. We'll go through that. We'll go through our KEFCAC committee, our City Engineers Flood Control Advisory Committee for our flood program. And there's just a lot of pre-work. So we'll be starting that next month here in a few weeks. And our goal is to get all of that ready and get it to the board in May. In May, the May-June timeframe, we also have to submit our SB1 reports to the state. So it works out well to kind of have that all ready around that timeframe. For road and flood projects, these come through the public works side. We have dedicated funds for those. For the bikeways, the public works takes the lead. And for parks and libraries, it's our OC Community Resources team, OCCR. If I abbreviate, that's the team I'm referring to. To touch really lightly on OCCR's projects, they have a total of $155 million programmed in the next 7 years. You can see the distribution here by district again. And similar to public works, they don't distribute it by district, but this gives you a flavor of where the projects are located. And a lot of it, like for libraries and parks, is really where the parks facilities are located. Priorities for our OC Community Resources is they have a 10-year asset condition assessment that they've completed, and that's helped them prioritize the projects that they're going to be working on. Obviously, facilities that are requiring multiple maintenance year after year where they feel they need to come in and do something actively to reduce that ongoing cost, bump up on their list. Public safety also, they interact with the public quite a bit for facilities, for parks and libraries. And any expansions, any items approved by the board for master plans, for master agreements. They also, similar to Public Works, they're looking at funding requirements, any grants, but also looking at their own resources and utility costs following a project completion. Just a glance at the parks alone improvements, they have $126 million, again, by district. And the library's distribution they're at about 29 million for the 5 districts. Again, you can kind of see a lot of library projects in the 5th district, South County. Funding sources for our parks team, they use a property tax. They also collect some revenue for their facilities, and they do have leases and concessions that bring in some revenue stream. For our libraries, it's property tax, and they do have access to an Irvine Capital sub-fund. And that covers, in a nutshell, everything that we have at Public Works. Like I say, there's a lot of resources online. Feel free to take a look at those, peruse those if you already haven't. You'll get a little bit more detail on the projects that we've covered. As you can see, it's a very big program. Difficult to cover everything here in half an hour, but my goal was to at least give you a flavor of what we have in the program, how we came up with it, and what we have coming up in the future. So again, thank you for the opportunity to present. I do have some contacts here if you want to follow us on Facebook or Twitter. We appreciate that. We post a lot of information, not only about upcoming projects, but also about any emergency response or any other activities that we may be involved in. So with that, I'll turn it back to ASCE. And again, thank you for the opportunity to present. I don't know if you'd like me to take the questions or if you want to moderate that.
Yeah, Nardi, I'll moderate it. Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it. We have a few in there. So you can see the first question is, on the projects shown highlighted under yellow and the upcoming road and bridge projects under that list, are the ones yellow the only ones that are going to be advertised to consultants?
Yes, so I'm trying to go back here. So for example, I think the question was specifically to road and bridge, so let me go back to that one. So for example, right here, yeah, these right here are the ones where we would be seeking consultant resources. If you look here, and I'm happy to provide the presentation because I know it's difficult to take notes as we're going through, but for example, here we have this highlighted as an RFP for design. So we would be doing solicitation for proposals on this. On this Newport Avenue roadway improvement, for example, we plan to do this with the on-call agreements that we have. So we'll be going through that list to identify a consultant.
Okay. Can you tell us, along those lines, the project's not subject to federal funding? Is that basically the delineation in a lot of cases about if it's under the on-call or not?
Yeah, definitely for an RFP, when we do an RFP versus an on-call, just in general terms, there's some requirement that's very specific that, you know, we feel using an on-call would be potentially problematic. So we will do an RFP for those. One example is federal projects, right? Because they may have like a CBE requirement, or the grant itself may require that we post for that one specifically. So it really just does depend on the project. And for these projects, for example, we're looking at 25, 26, but still a few years out. So it's subject to change, but at this point, from everything we know on the project and the type of funds that we anticipate getting, our plan is to do an RFP. So I think what I'm trying to say is that this is our plan. We're probably pretty accurate on most of these, but they are subject to change.
Does the size of the project also dictate if it goes on call or RFP too? Like over $1 million in consulting services, for example?
So yes, Steve, that's a great question, and absolutely yes. So if our on-call capacity, for example, is, I don't know, $750,000, but it's a very big project, and we know the design will exceed that, or that it'll consume most of it, we would also do an RFP for that reason, because we want the on-calls to be available for more of our routine projects, and we would do an RFP in that case as well.
Can you let us know when the next slate of on-call RFQs I know you have a huge list of on-call contracts, but maybe some of the ones relevant here, the road and bikeway, the flood, maybe a few of them.
I know we're going to do some renewals coming up here. I could get you a list. I don't have that. It's the tip of my fingers right now, but I can send that your way.
Okay, I appreciate that. One question is simply, can we have your email address?
Excuse me?
What is your email address? I've got.
Oh, that's an easy one. Would you like me to type it in the chat?
Please, yeah, that helps.
I can do that.
No
problem.
Follow-up is respect to bicycle projects needing consulting services based upon these here. Looks like it'll be, you want to fill that answer really quick?
Okay, so that's the email. I just typed that in here. And would you mind repeating the question, Steve?
Oh, are there any bicycle projects that will be needing design consultants in the near future?
So for the bike projects, we don't. We didn't have anybody highlighted here. We already have someone working on these projects. That's why we haven't highlighted them. It's possible that we'll need like supplemental services, but we have a main AE firm working on them. That's why we haven't highlighted.
When we're talking about flood mitigation and road mitigation, are we talking about environmental mitigation? Could you be more specific?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, environmental mitigation. If it had to do with like building a wall or doing something like that to reduce noise for a roadway project, for example, that we would include on the project cost. So the one we had identified separately is any environmental type of mitigation, having to establish habitat or maintain existing habitat or purchase credits, anything of that nature.
And then from Dina Roquefort, could you talk a bit more about the SNA and the transfer of consulting oversight?
About SNA.
Yeah, Dina, do you be more specific on what SNA?
I think
JWA.
John Wayne Airport, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said SNA. Oh, that's the acronym for the airport. Sorry. Sorry, it took me a second to connect the two. So for the John Wayne Airport, I can get you a contact there, and Justin Gallagher, who used to be in our team, is now the lead handling the projects there. I don't know if you know him, but if anybody is interested, just drop me a message and I'll send you his email contact. No, I don't have that information. I think that may deserve a presentation of its own if you'd like to reach out to him and talk about the work that they're doing, because there's a lot there.
And then the follow up with that question would probably be the same thing. The CIP for the airport, Justin Gallagher would probably be the best person there.
He would at this point. Once they get a little closer to making their assessment, we would have a joint CIP that would be attached to ours. So when we come back next year to do the update, you'll probably see the John Wayne Airport project on the CIP.
Okay. And Stephanie Bishop, to answer your question about the recording of the meeting, we usually have it about a week after on our website.
I'll copy and paste our website into the chat there for everybody, so you can see all the past presentations, and yeah, it should be up there in a week or two.
Yeah. But that's it for the questions. With that, if there's no other questions, I'll pass it off to Akshay for the announcements and screenshot.
Actually, I might sneak one in before we go over to the screenshots, if that's okay. actually two very quick ones, Nardi. Thanks for the presentation. I know you mentioned some CMAR and design builds. Are you guys looking at progressive design build too, or have you not explored that delivery method yet?
We do a variation of it. What our council deems is acceptable. So we do. We can do phases. We can do some pre-qualification, but progressive design build per se. I know LA County was pursuing some legislation for it. I think they're still looking at it, but I haven't seen that go through. So again, we do a variation of it.
Gotcha. Then my other really quick question, sorry to sneak two in here at the end. I think you had a pie chart on the first couple slides, maybe slide 7 or 8, that showed the breakdown in the different types of fundings for roads and active transportation. Do you see that changing in the near future? Like, is a lot more money coming in for active transportation, or are you seeing a lot of bridge investment program grant applications that are starting to go in? Is that expected to be what it is today, or do you see a pretty big shift, either an increase in road projects or an increase in active transportation?
Yeah, I don't see a big shift for the next CIP. I think, let's see, you're referring to this one, right?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Distribution. I think we're going to be about the same. Yeah, I don't foresee that going much bigger. Our MRA is already built in here into the roadside. And I'm sure you've all heard there's the potential of like gas tax holidays. A lot has been discussed. So we don't have any high hopes that this number will increase much more. And then again, we have facilities that we need to maintain. So I think it'll be pretty level. If we start seeing a lot of grants coming in, that may offset some of our road expenditures, and maybe we could reutilize those for next year. So there's a potential, but we don't have anything in hand that I can tell you absolutely, because I know that $5 million, $10 million was covered by IIJA. We don't have any of that money in hand right now. We're working on submitting applications and we're applying to the grant request, but we just haven't been awarded anything specific right now.
Awesome, thanks.
No problem.
All right, Akshay, do you want to take us away for the next portion of the presentation?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Eric. So I'd like to take a moment to take a screenshot of all the attendees. If you don't mind turning on your cameras and holding a smile. We have about 3 screens of people, so just bear with me for a second. I'll give everyone a second to turn on their cameras. Wow, okay. Coming in, a few more.
Competition of who can hold it the longest.
I think almost everyone's got their camera on now. I'm just waiting for a couple more people. Okay, let me start. And cheese. I got one there. Okay, let's get the next group. And you don't know which group you're in, so hold the smiles. Right, and one more. Okay, I think that's everybody that we've got so far. So thank you again, everybody. Just a couple of quick announcements. We are wrapping up the current season of our speaker series right now. So we're going to be starting up a whole new round in the coming months. So please keep your eyes out for that. And we're also looking to start some in-person events. So that's going to be some exciting chance to see everyone in person. So please stay tuned, and I'll be turning the meeting back over to Alahesh to close out.
Thanks, Akshay. Nardi, once again, thank you again, taking your time to come here, join us today and give our members an opportunity to listen to you about the OCPW's upcoming programs. Also, I want to thank everyone who joined today. Like we mentioned before, this helps us to give more scholarship, and scholarship is a big deal on the T&DI. That concludes today's event, and we hope to see you on the next one.